Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Sporty's webinar on what's new in our 2022 Learn to Fly course. This is kind of a behind-the-scenes look at the course and how to use a flight training course like Sporty's here, and some new features that we've added this year in the latest release. My name is Bret Koebbe. Work here at Sporty's Pilot Shop. I've been here about 22 years now. I started here as a flight instructor right out of college. Work on new product development now with the Pilot Shop catalog, as well as teach here at the flight school. But my primary responsibility is developing aviation courseware here at Sporty's. So I'm really excited to show off the latest things that we've built in our courses. And now we're up to, I think, about 25 courses we offer, starting with those for the student pilot looking to earn a private pilot certificate, up through your instrument rating, commercial certificate, and then lots of specialty courses too to focus on particular avionics systems, aircraft checkouts like multi-engine airplanes, and everything. All these courses are in this central platform that we're gonna be showing today, which we call the pilot training platform. I also enjoy flying for fun. Lots of different types of airplanes, 172s. I like to fly in a Piper Aztec twin-engine airplane for my vacation travel. So stay current in many types of different airplanes. And we've got a lot of fun things here at the Claremont County Airport. There's the picture of Sporty's headquarters there. We have many airplanes based, busy flight school. I think we're up to about 17 or 18 training airplanes now. And what that does is provide us a unique opportunity to build this courseware based on the students here in the building, the flight instructors, what we're seeing in the current flight training world, and deliver that in what I call a personal study course. So why use a personal study course? That definition could range a wide variety of different products, ranging from a simple test prep product to what we have here today, which is a full, I call it a flight training, ground school, and test prep course. But it allows you to prepare for each lesson in advance. And really the way we encourage pilots to use this is to spend a lot of time on it if you can before even getting to the airport and taking your first flight lesson, to become familiar with aviation, the terminology, the airplanes, the technology. It's going to make the time you spend with your instructor at the flight school so much more meaningful and valuable. As a flight instructor myself, I find just every time when a student shows up, if they are either have used the course in advance to prepare, maybe gone through the entire thing before their first lesson. Sometimes time doesn't always permit for that, so they will go through and prepare for each lesson based on the assignments and video assignments that we give that day. The time in the airplane is just so much better spent because the student, again, is familiar with the goals of that lesson, what they're going to see, what they're going to experience, sights, the sounds, that kind of thing. And that's really the value of this. And it sounds cliche, but it's going to save you time and money. And I see it day in and day out. The students that prepare in advance with a home study program like this are going to get through in less flight time, less flight training time towards the certificate, which ultimately saves you money as you proceed towards that goal. Leaves you more money in the end for renting the airplane and having fun with your certificate after that goal is achieved. Another big aspect of this, and this is what we really excel at Sporties, and I think we strive hard to do this, is to bring challenging concepts to life. So we're not just a talking head presentation program or PowerPoint, but everything is visually engaging, 3D animations, cameras all over the cockpit, all over the airplane to show you. We shoot all over the world with our cameras and our technology. So you're going to see the real world of aviation, but not just read about it. And most importantly too, we'd love for every student to come here to Sporty's Academy to train, but we realize that's not always practical. So your flight school is likely going to have their own syllabus, which is the essentially lesson by lesson plan that you'll use to work towards your private certificate. You can rest assured that our course works with any syllabus. It's general enough that it can be modified and used along with that, because every syllabus in itself is essentially covering the FAA requirements, and that's what our course is designed to do as well. So just a quick overview, if you're not familiar with the course itself, it's about a 15-hour HD video training program broken down into about 80 or 90 different individual segments, and I'll demo some of those here coming up. And that's the core of the course itself, is the video training. So again, not reading, not PowerPoint, but it's actually an engaging product. Of course, there's the FAA knowledge test prep to prepare you for the knowledge test. Video flight maneuvers guide, kind of a unique aspect here to, on a case-by-case basis, lesson by lesson, you will go into this program and watch how to fly certain maneuvers, like a takeoff or a slow flight maneuver. It's going to guide you through so that, again, when you get into the airplane itself, you're prepared on how to fly that maneuver, know the standards, and kind of know what to look for. A very convenient tool we also include is a FAA handbook library. So back in my day, 20 years ago, when we got all our resources, we had big, hefty flight bags and carried around 20 pounds of books. Well, now that you no longer need to do that, thanks to this nice organization of things like the Airplane Flying Handbook, Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, and many, many more, all organized into a nice digital library that you can access. You can bookmark, you can search, but it's all in one spot. And we also include a unique feature set that we call Checkride Prep. So many courses will prepare you for your training, for the knowledge test. Well, we go one step further. We want to prepare you for the check ride as well. So getting comfortable for what the examiner is going to ask you on the oral test, what's to be expected during the flight test, and lots of resources there. So we have a dedicated section in the course just for that. We're also unique in the amount of options we have that you can use to access the course. And this is, I think, one of the few in the industry that offers this. One purchase, single purchase price, gets you full online access, a dedicated iPhone and iPad app, dedicated Android app. New for this year, we now offer 5 smart TV apps. We're really seeing the trend for just really any type of media consumption back to the big screen TV. And many of us have seen as we get away from cable TV and satellite that we're using smart TV apps for Netflix or Hulu or YouTube, whatever it might be. Well, we want to be there right with you on your smart TV. So we cover about 95% of the smart TV options that I'll go over here shortly, so that you can sit back on the big screen and watch your flight training materials at home from the comfort of your couch. And the last point there I mentioned again, lifetime access. So you feel comfortable knowing that you own this course forever. No subscription fees, no recurring fees. So it doesn't really matter how long it takes you to earn your private certificate, whether it's 3 months or several years, this course will always be there for you. So how do we get started? And this goes really for any course, but we're going to focus here on our Sporty's pilot training course. We say start with the video training. And what a screenshot there is showing is our online course. In the left-hand menu navigation is the video option. And the videos are organized into 6 main chapters, and each chapter has between 10 and 20 video segments. And we recommend just going through that start to finish. Some days you might want to watch 2 or 3 segments. Some days you might get through a whole chapter. Just depends on the time you have. But then each chapter has a review quiz. You can go in and watch the video segment and then take a video review quiz to help make sure you take away the key points from that video training segment. You'll see there also by the red circle section for section notes, so an outline of the video training content and then a full transcript. So lots of options for supplemental studying material to go along with that video training. And we also have a new feature this year, which I highly recommend if you have an iPhone, iPad, or Android to download that dedicated app. We include an audio training feature. So this allows you to listen to the audio from the video training segments. Very helpful for times when maybe you can't watch a video, like in the car, working out, maybe doing yard work, but a great supplemental training ability and feature there. And I'll point out again that audio training is unique to the iOS and Android apps. And I'll explain coming up here a little bit about why you may want to use one platform or the other. But there's a great example of a feature unique to the mobile platforms that lends itself better to a portable device in the audio training. So after we watch all the video, and you're going to watch the video start to finish, you're going to find that you're going to want to go back at certain points and watch certain segments again. Maybe your instructor is going to recommend certain materials in preparation for a ground training or flight training lesson. But the other core component here is the knowledge test prep. And we've made it very convenient to study many different ways. You can do study sessions to study categories of questions, random questions, and I'll go into that more momentarily. And then, of course, the testing option, which is the full FAA test prep. And what we do in that testing scenario is we present a 60-question knowledge test, just like you'd see at the testing facility, where you answer each question, you can grade it, and then go ahead and get your results and review missed questions. Lots of analytical tools built in there as well to help you identify key areas where you were deficient. But the goal is to study lots of questions, different categories, get through them all at least once, and then start taking practice tests to see how your knowledge is stacking up to what the actual test expectations are. Now, when you go to take the knowledge test, the FAA considers a 70% score as passing. We like to see students pass with at least an 80% or higher, and really 90% is what you should be shooting for, honestly. But at the end of the course, if you do, or not if, but when you get at least two 80% practice test scores or higher, and you've watched all the video training, you can request that test endorsement automatically from your course. So very convenient. You can do that from the online course or the iOS or the Android app. And that's available 24/7. It's all generated from the course itself. So if it's Saturday night and you're finished, hit that button and you have it. So no waiting on an instructor or office hours to receive that endorsement from your course. Just want to highlight a couple of the options here I mentioned. Includes all these different formats. And you could do this course start to finish on your iPhone. You could do it start to finish on your Android or online. Now there's benefits to kind of hopping around a little bit based on your technology and what you own. All the features, all the video is all available on all the platforms, but I will point out a couple unique things here coming up that are available just on mobile. So if you're already a course user, sportys.com/mycourses will get you over and into your course in any web browser available in modern computers today. If you're new to the program, check out that URL as well. That'll get you into a free demo of the Learn to Fly course. You can start checking it out. But then we also offer the Sporty's pilot training app. This is for iPhone or iPad, available for download in the App Store on your device. It's a free app initially. Then you can sign in with your Sporty's account to get into your course, or if you're new to it, you can purchase course access there as well. Same thing on the Android side. That's available in the Google Play Store. That's the Android version of the App Store. And then I mentioned we've really expanded our TV offerings this year. So these are all included as well based on the hardware that you own at home or your office. So we support Apple TV, Fire TV, Android TV, Roku, and any of those devices you own or secondary devices that support Chromecast. Many smart TVs include Chromecast by default. That allows you to essentially stream the video from your Android device or iOS device to your TV. So even if you don't have one of these accessories, there's a good chance that your TV supports one of the options, at a bare minimum Chromecast, to be able to watch the video segments on the big screen. Now, best of all, you're probably asking, okay, so if I am using all these different platforms, what about my progress? Of course, you're signed into the same Sporty's user account for all platforms, and your progress always stays in sync. So you can watch a couple videos on your TV, on your phone, your laptop. You'll get credit no matter where it is. And same thing for test prep too. So you can take a couple practice test sessions on your laptop and they'll show up on your iPad, Android phone, etc. So no worries about keeping your progress in sync or where you're actually using the course. So what's the best platform? That's really a personal preference. Online is most universal, obviously. That's going to work really in any web browser. I'll point out too, it's optimized for mobile web browsing as well. So if you are on a specific device that doesn't support one of our applications for mobile, you can still use your web browser on a small screen and you'll be able to watch all the video and access all the content. But again, if you're on iOS, iPad, iPhone, Android, I highly suggest you download the pilot training app and use that specific version. So mobile, I think it's great for watching a couple of videos here and there. You probably always have your phone on you and your iPad's probably not far away. So great for those times on the go, maybe on a train or subway or airplane to watch some videos. And that's a good point here as well. That's one of the few unique features to the mobile apps is that they allow you to download videos for offline viewing. So if you are going to be on the airline or overseas or in a location without internet connection, you can download all the content to the mobile app and watch it without an internet connection. The online course does require an internet connection, of course, just since it's connected to your web browser and requires that constant connection. I mentioned earlier another unique feature on mobile is the audio training feature that again allows you to play just the audio from select video segments. And then the TV, perfect for watching at home. And bring your family into this as well, kids, wife, husband, etc., to help bring them into the flight training process and show them what you're working on at the airport. I think it's really valuable to see, for them to see what you're doing and can really help you to kind of develop that support team to help you get through your flight training. Okay, so with that, I'm going to switch over to a different browser here. We're going to do a little demonstration on the online course itself. And this is your course dashboard. So depending on which courses you own, you'll see multiple selections here, maybe just a couple. But your latest activity at the top is the latest course that you had activity in. So in this case, private pilot. So we're going to jump into that. And here we're looking at the main presentation of the course itself. Now, when you come back into it, you're going to be presented with our new dashboard view. And this is a way to kind of keep your training focused and give you some guidance along the way. And this dashboard will evolve as you progress through the course. So initially, it's going to give tips on how to get started, how to get the most out of video training. As you progress through the video, it's going to start transitioning you into test prep, as we're at here. Test prep tips and advice, guides. Once you pass your 80% practice test scores, it'll transition you into Checkride prep, and eventually towards getting your endorsement. So this home section here is a great place to get started each time. It'll also show you the next video segment. You can jump right back into where you left off without having to explore menus and different things. We use a badge system up here at the top to kind of show your various milestones. So watching the first 3 chapters of the video, watching all the video, and then scoring your 2 top practice test scores, and then finally earning your knowledge test endorsement. So some goals up there at the top to help you get through it. But let's jump into video training, and we'll do this through the main menu on the left-hand side. Here's our 6 main chapters, and so you can see a count of which videos you've watched, what you have to go still. So it looks like right now we're on chapter 4 here, your dual cross countries. So let's jump into that. Our next section is on VOR navigation, so we'll go ahead and click on that. And here we have a video player. I'll start playing it. It's not going to play too well over the network, so I'm not going to let it go on too long. But it's HD video, it's dynamic bit rate, so it's going to automatically adapt to your home internet connection. Or if maybe you're in a situation where the connection is not as fast, the video will automatically pick the bandwidth best for your connection. As I mentioned, you have full section notes here. This is an outline of the key points of the video, so highly suggest after watching each segment, come down here to the section notes and go ahead and check that out to get some key takeaways from that. We also include the full transcript. So this is the top to bottom script of that video, another helpful reading tool to help study. And then I highly recommend after that, jump into the video review quiz. And this is unique because not only does it have questions based on the video segment, but we have this play explanation button over here. And as you click that, it's going to jump to the section of the video that automatically covers that particular question. So as you go through questions, you may find that you know most of them. If there's a question you're not sure of, use the play explanation button. It'll take you right to the spot in the video that covers that material. So a great way to go back and review key topics there. You also have access at the top up here to a search button. The search button allows you to check out keywords in the video content. So if we're looking for an airspace content training segment, we can type in airspace and jump right to that segment. So again, the first time around, I recommend watching the video start to finish, but you may want to find it useful to search for specific topics later as you're reviewing for the Checkride, the knowledge test, etc. So all your progress is marked off with check marks as you progress through the video training. Okay, so next we'll jump into the test prep section. You'll spend a lot of time here because this is where you're really going to focus on getting ready for the FAA knowledge test. Now you can see my study history here. I've got some results showing, so I can hop back into any session that I've completed to review the whole session. I can expand this here and see an analytics of the various categories and how I performed. I can even come in with 4 different options to start a new session based on a graded session. So questions answered correctly, incorrectly, marked questions, or again, to retry the entire session start to finish. So lots of options there to go back and review previous sessions. As you get started though, you want to start off here in the Start New Study Sessions section. So we'll hit that. And you'll see 6 different category or 6 different tool selections to study specific categories of questions, random questions, Smart Study. This is one of our signature features. Say you don't have a whole lot of time, but you just want to study 10 or 15 questions. This will look for your weaker areas and present questions and topics that you've been more likely to miss in the past. So great focus studying method to help the course kind of zero in on what you need to focus on more. I also encourage as you're going through to mark questions. Maybe there's certain ones you don't understand thoroughly, or you want to come back to revisit them with your instructor. Use that marked questions function, or use the marked function in the session. This will allow you to come back and then review those marked questions at a later time. Can start a session based on incorrect questions, or one of our other powerful features, which is question search. Again, like the video search, you can search for any keyword to do that and start a session type that way. But let's start with specific categories just to show you what this looks like. You have two options, question mode, which is how the question is presented on the FAA test, or flashcard mode, which is a popular study option. A lot of universities and schools and other test preparation programs where you see just the question, you don't see any answers, and it helps you to think about what the correct answer is without actually seeing the answers in front of you. So you can pick either mode as you go through this. Let's pick flight operations. And you can see here on the right-hand side, we've got a full analytics again of how you performed in these various categories in the past. So all sessions, last 3 sessions, and the most recent session. So it looks like here our most efficient category is operations at tower controlled fields. So we'll select that and use the start button to get going. And we're presented with a basic multiple choice question answer format. So here's your question, we'll select the answer. Instant feedback, whether it's right or wrong. Unique to our program, we've included explanations for every single answer. So our database includes over 1,000 questions. Take that times 3, we've got over 3,000 explanations written for every answer in this course, which helps you really to understand the material. We don't want to make this rote memorization. We want to have some takeaways and meaningful experience from the study session. So I highly encourage that you're going through this to study the explanations. And if you want to go one step further, you can use the references here and open up the specific FAA handbook or reference material that covers that question. So lots of options there to study more than just the question itself. At any time, you can use the save and quit function to save your progress, which you'll see here in your study history. You can come back to that session at a later time and then resume it. So as you're feeling comfortable and you've studied just about every category of question, then you can come in over here to the second main mode, which is practice test. We'll hit start there to begin a simulated FAA practice test. Now here, when we select an answer, it's not going to give us a right or wrong. This is more like the actual test where we have to go through, answer the 60 questions in the 2.5-hour time limit, and then grade the session and to review it later. We include all the figures in line with the questions, so you can look at them here, make them bigger, print them out, whatever you want to do. I'll point out, as far as the knowledge test goes, when you go to take the actual test, you'll have a printed book in front of you, where this is digital. So I do know a lot of pilots like to print out some of the figures to mark them up or to plan across country. It's a little bit easier with a plotter. So don't feel like you have to do everything right here on the screen because that's not how it's going to be on the actual knowledge test. So you may want to print out a couple of those as you go along to make that a little bit easier. So that's the knowledge test prep section. Take as many sessions as you like, take as many practice tests. There's no limits. I honestly feel the more the better. And again, the kind of testing criteria is 70% is passing in the FAA's eyes. We're looking to see you get at least 2 80% test scores. But personally, as a flight instructor, I'd recommend shooting for 90% test scores, really, to make sure you're thoroughly prepared for that knowledge test. Next up is the flight maneuvers guide. This is the program I mentioned that will help prepare you for flight training lessons. Specifically, each lesson is going to have 3 to 4 maneuvers you might be practicing with your instructor. So let's look at a soft field approach and landing as an example. This is a video narrated with text and audio. Again, I'll start it here, but it's not going to play very well. But a great 3D animation to kind of show the step-by-step process of the maneuver. And then beneath it, we have a full description of how to complete the maneuver, common errors, and the standards you're looking to meet as you fly the maneuver. So highly recommend before each flight lesson you come in here and review the applicable flight maneuver. I mentioned the digital FAA library, and that's here in the FAA handbook section. So wealth of information here for all the various FAA handbooks. For example, the airplane flying handbook was just released. A new version came out last month. And we click on it here, it's going to load a very powerful and fast PDF viewer. So this one's 406 pages, and it's processing now. It'll be up here in just a second. You can come over here to a nice outline of the pages. You can also pick table of contents, so you can jump right to a chapter, say airport traffic patterns. It'll load that And this is more reading material. So I know a lot of pilots aren't going to go through and read this start to finish, but you're going to find areas in your training, whether it's in the course or with your instructor, you want to read up a little bit more. This is a great place to do that. This also has that powerful search capability. So we can search for, say, slow flight, and we'll find particular topics on that particular topic as it relates to this airplane flying handbook. Moving on to the Checkride prep section. Again, this is, I think, a unique feature in our course that helps you prepare for the time with your FAA examiner when it comes time for the actual Checkride to get your certificate. And this is the final step before you get that, before you get your wings and are officially a private pilot. So we have a flashcard prep feature here. This will simulate the oral exam questions that your examiner may ask you. A tips and tricks video presented by a designated pilot examiner to help you prepare and kind of know what to expect on the Checkride itself. A checklist here to prepare you and make sure all your flight time is ready, that you bring all your pilot gear, plotter, vision assisted goggles, etc. For the Checkride. And then a full version of the Airman certification standards. And this is a full list that's actually kind of unique to this of what the actual performance standards are for the Checkride, what the FAA expects you to do for each maneuver. And you come here and select for each broad category the specific maneuver. But then we make it a step further, take it a step further and include the video training sections that go along with it. So as you come in here and prepare for the Checkride, and the ACS really isn't just for the final Checkride preparation. You'll be using this with your instructor throughout your entire flight training process. But you also find it helpful to come to at the end to review and study specific areas. And you can play the video then associated with that maneuver using this nice menu here that will connect that video training. So you can see there's a lot of different ways to bring the video training into your flight training, whether it is going start to finish, doing some searching, tying it into the Airman certification standards, or just finding your own topics throughout the course. So we really want to make that an integral part of the various parts of your training. On the left-hand side of the menu, we have video progress. So we're shooting to get to 100% there. Got your top 2 test scores. So this is kind of a checklist as you progress through the course. Again, we're looking for 2 test prep scores of 80% or higher, preferably 90, as I mentioned, for your own interest sake. And then once you complete that, your knowledge test endorsement will be available to download from the course here in the knowledge test endorsement section. One feature we've really built up this year in the last month or so is our flight instructor progress sharing. So you can use the share function here in the progress and share your course progress with your flight instructor, aviation mentor, parents, whomever it might be, another pilot. But that will allow them to see your video progress. It'll allow them to see your finished test prep sessions. So it's a great way for them to follow up and see how you're doing in your training. And really just multiple ways to do this. We built a flight school function in this as well. So flight school chief pilots can have instructors working with them and they can build classrooms. So if you're part of a collegiate program using the course, your instructor can put you as part of a classroom to help keep that all organized, but a very powerful tool. And the more you can work with the course with your instructor, the better off it can be. I'd highly recommend if you purchase this course or considering using it, to show your instructor from day one so they know what you're doing on the home study side. Again, that'll make your training a much more valuable experience. So don't feel like it just has to be you using the course at home and then meeting with your instructor at the airport. Bring them together and let your instructor know and show them what you're using. And what we found is a lot of instructors really appreciate that and see the value and you, the student, taking the time to prepare in advance. And I think they're going to find value in that as well. And many times we see that instructor ends up recommending that the course to their other students at that point then. So a great opportunity to share that with them. So that's a view of the online course. Again, the mobile app is very similar laid out in terms of organization, but a dedicated view for Android, iOS, and the Apple TV, or all the TV applications. On the TV side, one thing I'll point out, it's mainly a video tool on the TV, but the Apple TV users also get access to video quizzes. So I'd highly recommend checking those out as well. If you're an Apple TV user, after the video training segment, you'll see that you can then watch or take the review quiz as I showed you earlier. That's available in the online course and the apps as well. Okay, so you've bought the course, you've committed to continuing with flight training, how do you use this course with your instructor? And again, that's kind of the point I was getting at before. So in a perfect world, this is kind of what I would recommend here. And I realize it's not always going to work this way, because you may buy the course on day one that you're at the airport and start your flight training, and that's quite okay. There's not a one way to go about this. But if I were working with someone who was interested in flight training and considering lessons, and they purchased the course, this is how I would recommend for the best course of action and best efficiency for flight training. So if there's time before you even get to the airport for the very first lesson, I would try to get through all the video training on your own and watch it through. Now, of course, it's not all going to make 100% sense, and that's where the study notes and the review quizzes can help. You're going to have questions. That's inevitable, but you're going to get a good percentage of it and have a good feeling for how the whole flight training process works. And you can take notes in the course throughout to ask your instructor later. As you do the video training, start to study test prep questions. As I showed, there's a category option where you can select specific categories of questions. You'll probably want to do that based on the video sections you watched. So if you just watched a segment on airspace, head over to the test prep function and study the airspace questions. If you did airport operations, maybe airport diagrams or air traffic control, head back over then to the test prep and study those questions. And start to become familiar with how the FAA is looking for you to know the material from a test prep standpoint. And then again, I showed you the FAA handbooks, the digital FAA handbooks. Those are great as a follow-up resource after watching video training or studying test questions for additional study. So you can do all that on your own without even meeting with your instructor for the first time. And for those that are kind of self-starters and motivated, it's a great tool to get you ready. It's going to make you really excited to get to the airport then and get your hands on the controls of the airplane as you start your flight training. Now, as you proceed with that part at the airport, you're going to find that your instructor will likely quiz you on what you know and don't know. Maybe look for weak areas and areas that you feel comfortable with. And for me as a flight instructor, I'll do this as well. It'll help you bypass some of the ground lesson time. So a student who does not use a home study course is going to spend a lot of time with the instructor doing ground lessons, sitting there one-on-one for an hour and a half or so, covering many of the materials and topics covered in this course. So if you're able to watch all that and have a good grasp on a lot of the content ahead of time, you're going to spend more time in the airplane at the airport and less time doing ground lessons, which is really beneficial for everyone as far as I'm concerned. The instructors would much rather be in the airplane with you, hands-on doing flight maneuvers, than going over basics of regulations or airspace, things that you can study on your own time. So as you prepare for the lessons, you're going to have a syllabus or a training course outline. You can use the search features in the course to search for flight maneuvers or search for video training topics to watch in advance of that lesson. If your instructor uses the Sporty's course, then they're going to know much more about it and can assign specific videos for you to watch or collections of test prep questions to study, etc. But it's during that flight training process that you really want to start getting into getting ready for the knowledge test as well, and really digging in and finding your weak areas and studying the questions and answers and explanations in that goal of getting those two 80 to 90% practice test scores. And then of course, go ahead and take the FAA knowledge test. Again, you can do that without your instructor if you'd like, since the course will provide that endorsement directly from the course itself. And then as you get ready for the check ride in the weeks ahead of time, hopefully you've been in the airman certification standards as you complete and learn about each maneuver, but it's a good time to review that and make sure you're familiar with the requirements, expectations, and then of course, as we showed, the video training supplement are there as well to help review some of those concepts as you get ready for the check ride. And then lastly, the check ride prep flashcards. Those will help you prepare for the oral exam of the flight test. Again, those are questions that we've interviewed DPEs around the world, or I shouldn't say around the world, around the country, some around the world, but mostly in the US, and other resources to help put together a comprehensive collection of questions that you'll likely be asked during the check ride. So very valuable tool there. Another free resource, since I know many here are looking at starting into private pilot training, that we offer here at Sporty's, kind of unrelated to the course itself, but just wanted to bring it up as a very helpful tool and resource, which is studentpilotnews.com. A wealth of articles here, especially for those that are just thinking about getting started into flight training. So how do I find a flight school, or how do I get a medical? How do I find a student pilot certificate? All the basics of how to get going. Very helpful articles there on that website. We also include lots of video tips and flight maneuver tips posted weekly, quizzes, that kind of thing. So a great way to stay engaged with current content, as well as have a tool to research various topics as you get into flight training. How to find a flight school, all the basics, how to find a flight instructor, lots of questions that are very common among new uh, individuals interested in learning to fly. You will find there on Student Pilot News. As I wrap up, I just want to point out one other thing. Many know that Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 came out last year. This is the great revival of a flight simulator that many of us have known for 25 plus years now. And I think it's really brought an interesting kind of renewed focus into home flight simulators that you can set up for only a couple $100 really, compared to what they would cost obviously at a big professional organization. But a Microsoft Flight Sim or X-Plane can be a very valuable tool during your flight training. And we recognize that here at Sporty's, and we've built a guide essentially that comes with your course that can allow you to prepare for your lessons in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So much more on this. We have our own dedicated section on the Sporty's website and Sporty's blogs on Microsoft Flight Sim, but we do get a lot of questions on that, so I just wanted to bring that up, that there is an integration piece in the resources of your course that will help you review Microsoft Flight Simulator and make it a valuable tool in your flight training. So how do you get started? If you're already a course user, online, sportys.com/mycourses. To get any of the apps, just go to the respective app store, search for Sporty's Pilot Training, and you'll find that as a free download. And if you've already purchased access, you can sign in with your Sporty's account, and you're all set there to get going. With that, we've got a couple quick questions I'm gonna check out here and we'll wrap this up. So a couple questions. First one, does online course access ever expire? The answer is no, and we do that intentionally. We want you to be able to access your course during your flight training as you prepare for your certificate, but then also it's a great resource to come back to once you are a certificated pilot. A lot of the material here is very helpful for staying current. So, you'll be tested on a wide variety of topics throughout your training, but then some areas you may not get to, like soft field landings, for example, landing on grass, or maybe gusty wind conditions. So this is a great tool to come back and use to study up on that kind of thing later on. Every pilot has to have, or complete, I should say, a flight review with a flight instructor every 24 calendar months, every 2 years essentially. And the course makes a great resource for preparing for that as well, and kind of a good, like I said, recurrent study tool. So for that reason, yeah, once you purchase it, it's yours indefinitely. No limits. Obviously, it's limited to you as a single user, but no limits on your devices, et cetera, that you can use throughout. Next question, do you get access to the iPad, Android, and online course for one price? Yes, absolutely. So you pay one price for the Learn to Fly course. You will get a Sporty's username and password, and that allows you then to sign in to each and every device. So you could literally be, if you have all those devices, on an iPad, Android, iPhone, online, Apple TV, no limit. Again, it's designed for your single user, your individual username and password, but yeah, you get them all. Are there any guarantees, money back if a student fails their exam? Great question. And yes, we do include we call it our triple guarantee. So we do guarantee that you'll pass all 3 of the required tests for the private pilot certificate. The 3 tests are the knowledge test, the oral exam, and then the flight test. The last 2 are part of what we call the practical test. But absolutely, if you are not successful in any part of those, we will fully refund your money. And you can obviously continue to use the course then as necessary to proceed on. And we don't want you to give up, obviously. We want you to succeed, but that happens very, very rarely, as you'd guess. But yes, you can feel comfortable that there is a guarantee with that. Next question, is this program Part 141 approved? The answer is no, but it's a great companion to 141 schools. So it's not going to satisfy the requirements of 141 ground school as it's written. But to give a little more insight and context on that, we partner with many universities who use this in conjunction with their 141 program. A great example is the University of Cincinnati Professional Pilot Training Program that we partly partner with Sporty's with the University of Cincinnati. And that's all a 141 program, but the students are still required from the school standpoint to use the course and integrate it with their classroom study. So why it's not, by the letter of the law 141 approved, it's a great 141 companion program. Okay, last question, and we'll wrap up here for today. When will these 2022 changes be released to the various platforms? Well, good news. These actually all came out about 2 weeks ago. So all the latest features for the 2022 courses are available now in the apps, Android, iOS, the TV apps. They're all out there. And the online course as well is updated. So if you're a current user, you already have access to all these latest and greatest features. And I'll kind of build on that question a little bit. From my perspective, working on this course day in and day out, we're always making video updates, test prep question updates, content changes, subtle things sometimes just to keep up with the latest regulations. Bigger things like the airplane flying handbook. A new version of that came out last month, so we updated that. So you'll see that our apps are updated every couple weeks or so in the App Store, not only for stability in the software, but for content. On the online side, because it is a web-based program, we're able to make changes in nearly real time. So as new content becomes available, new test prep questions, you're going to get those automatically. So as a course user, make sure you keep your apps up to date and check out the online course for the most latest version at all times. But check your apps and make sure in the App Store that you are updating those, and you will guaranteed to have the latest content. With that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I wish you the best of success in your flight training as you work towards your pilot certificate. And I hope to see you back in the Sporty's pilot training platform beyond that point, whether it's for your instrument rating. We have a full commercial pilot course and 20 plus other courses as well that you'll see in that pilot training program. So with that, I'll wrap up. Thanks and have a great afternoon.